Welcome to Under the Microscope with Jenny. I'm your host, Jenny Germano. Thank you for joining me today. A little bit about my background. I got my start working in the cannabis industry in 2009 in Denver, Colorado, running vertically integrated facilities. And in 2015, I founded my company, ICS Consulting, and have been consulting nationally for the last 10 years, helping cannabis operators get open and navigate the complex regulatory landscape for their cannabis operations. I am launching what I am calling my Cannabis Operator Series, Fireside Chat. Today, my guest is Dan Koogler of TS Lab here in Denver, Colorado. Thank you for joining me today, Dan. I'm so happy to have you here.
Absolutely. Glad to be here.
So, why don't you give our listeners a little bit about your background and what type of licensed facility that you're operating, if you're a medical or adult use, how long that you've been in business, and what products that you're producing?
So currently we have two license types. We're emit for recreational and medical. I've been operational for 3 years. We were under construction a year before that, so 4 years total now. And we do have emit licensed marijuana infused products, recreational and medical. My background a little bit, back when I was a kid in high school, college, I used to wash hash in 5-gallon buckets. I didn't really think much of it. I learned it online or the internet. And then I got into the military for quite a while there, coming out of college. I was in the military for just under 4 years, came back from Afghanistan and wanted to get into something I was more in control of as opposed to what the military was to me. And then I wanted to be my own boss. Military definitely gave me like a really strong work ethic, and I've used that my whole life. I try and outwork everybody I can. Initially, I went into distillate, into ethanol extraction and CO2 extraction. Saw the market drop while we were still under construction. So I pushed over to the solventless side just to make it a little bit easier for us, not deal with as much as the fire department. Like licensing and inspections would be a lot easier with no solvents or strong chemicals. So I switched to that and got rid of the distillate completely. So like we did a 180, like literally 3 months before we were open to the public. And it was a good move. Rosin, as has been taken off, it's doing very well. It is starting to dip slightly, but we're still sitting at 12, 14 bucks a gram. It is still maintaining very well. And I see that Colorado market's really pushing towards a healthier, cleaner product, which is very beneficial for us. And we take that very seriously.
Yeah, thank you. I really appreciate that. And did you also have a background? Were you doing GC work or construction as
Yeah.
well in the
Yep. Yep.
family business?
Yeah, I came out of the military, went down and worked with my dad for construction. He wanted me to take over that business, and working with family is not always the best moves. I did a different direction, and I always used to come out to Colorado all the time to go snowboarding, so I always wanted to live here. I thought it was a perfect time to take a chance. Right when we were opening up, the COVID hit. Definitely been a roller coaster, but we're on the up and up now. Every month is better than last month. We're moving forward. And that was another one. You're talking about products that we currently sell. The main products right now is our cold cure rosin. We do 1 gram, 2 gram buckets that move very well. We do a full spectrum, all kind of micron dependent, depending on what consumers want. We also have a live rosin syringe. We have vape carts. We do hash, gram hash. Now we do joints, hash infused joints, rosin infused joints. We're just doing everything solventless at the moment. The only thing that we're dabbling and haven't started yet is edibles. We're trying to figure out a way to break into that gummy kind of market. That's pretty much what we're producing.
That's quite a lot, actually. It's a lot from where you started a couple years ago, and it seems like you've been building up your product line over time. And I also love what you share about family. I think a lot of people out there listening can relate. Everyone, I'm sure, has an experience where they worked with their family or they came and helped in the family business and they wanted to chart their own path. I love that you charted your own path, and now here you are in the cannabis industry. One of the things that I wanted to talk about with your journey to get operational, because I think it's important to talk to existing operators. So people that are new coming into the emerging market or thinking about starting a business, to provide them with context so they can really understand it is going to be challenging. It is going to be up and down. It's not going to be a perfect ride. Just because you won the license doesn't mean it's going to be easy. I really think once you get a license, I feel like that's when the real work starts. Is really trying to get operational and then just being open and then managing all the curveballs that are going to be thrown at you while you're operating, which I'm sure you can attest. There's a lot of curveballs out there that happen.
Very much, yeah.
The reason that you decided to come into the cannabis industry, was it a little bit of what you shared earlier because you were making this product in your garage? Was there anything else that kind of the reason that you were drawn to come in and start this business?
One of the driving factors is probably the main driving factor is I absolutely love hash and solventless extraction as well as just cannabis in general. I've always been a big fan. Even in the military, I was unable to consume, but I always missed it, of course. So I did always want to get that, and I've always been taught my whole life just to just go with your passion and what you have fun with and see if you can make it work. So that's what I'm doing. As well as I did kind of expect the cannabis, even though the market is tough, it is somewhat recession proof. Regardless of times and situations out there, people are going to be buying cannabis.
I think there's such things that people, when money's tight, people will still find a way to buy cannabis. They'll still find a way to buy their favorite product, just like the same with alcohol. We're going to go back in time when we first met. What type of challenges did you face when you were trying to get operational? I guess start from back when you first went after the license, but also talk about the ups and downs of the build out. And did you go over the amount of money that you originally thought you had to invest in it? Did it cost you more than you thought it was going to initially? That kind of information I think would be really helpful.
Yeah, so to touch on that, like I said, I did come from a construction background. That was probably, some people would say a mistake, and I would say turned into our benefit is I overbuilt our unit. I don't know, coming from a residential construction, I wanted everything to be perfect.
Yeah.
And to be honest, in the market and how it is, penny pinching like crazy, I probably overbuilt it, but it turned into a big positive for us. We're able to bring potential buyers or owners through the lab, show them that we're pretty serious and we mean business. This is a very scientific lab. Everything has its place here. And that does let people at ease to spend more money with us, buying more products or investing or whatever they're looking to do. So that has turned into a really good thing, as well as the MED comes here to take photos to show other labs that we're like the flagship lab for the Marijuana Enforcement Division. They show them what they expect for SOPs or for cleaning or anything like that. So that's turned into being definitely a good thing. But the path to get there was not the easiest. Like I said, COVID did hit shortly after we started construction. I think we were like 2 months, 3 months into it. And so construction slowed down quite a bit. I was here almost every day. I was a superintendent for construction. So I was here pissing everybody off. They didn't like me, I'm sure, but I'm pointing everything out that I want changed and blah, blah, blah. Our biggest issue with the construction, number one, was the fire department. The Denver Fire Department is, how do I say it? They're engineers that think they're like scientific engineers. They think they know more than a certified scientist for extraction or explosions or anything like that. So they make us overbuild it more than what's needed. For example, we did CO2 extraction mainly for like supercritical, and they wanted us to have a booth. So we had the unit put into the booth, and then they told us that the booth is not certified or equivalent to what they wanted. So then we got rid of the booth. Then they came back and checked our CO2 extractor again. They realized that it's CO2, not ethanol extraction. So then they told us the booth would have worked. After all this, and I already sold it, like it's gone.
The lab went up.
Yep, the walls went up. So instead we made the entire lab explosion proof just to get them off our back. We did 6 sheets of 1/2-inch drywall across the whole building. So according to Denver, that is explosion proof, and that wasn't cheap. I think we allotted like 150,000, I think, for this building. Ended up being about 300.
Wow.
After everything, yeah. And the MED kept coming in, telling us different things that we had to do. We need more cameras here. We need another camera here. You can have the safe here. You need that. They just kept changing things. Our break room couldn't be so close to the extraction booth. They approve our plans initially, and we start construction, and they come in and change plans as we go along. And that was difficult, especially when that's not cheap, yeah.
I think that's good information to share no matter what the state anyone is in, that the build out can be challenging, and that just those things that you talked about, I was hearing delays, more money, which is why I'm always telling people to make sure you have enough money to cover the cost if things happen to build out. Inspectors come in and change things, which that happens with just getting inspections, like building, I'm sure, residential houses, or maybe if you're just remodeling a house, somebody could come in and say, hey, you got to put a new roof on, or you have to like repipe the whole place, and that's going to cost more money. So I think that's pretty normal. And I know it was very challenging, but what's really exciting is that you were still able to get open, even in the face of those challenges, which I think really is a testament to who you are. Thank you for sharing that. So, how long did the build out take? A year?
Just under a year. I think it was like 11 months. Yeah.
Okay. And then how long did it take to pass all the inspection, to get the thumbs up, to then to be able to start producing?
So at the 11, once we got the CO for the building, the MED set up an inspection, came through their inspection. And at that time, I had a recreational and medical transport license as well. And they came in, and I had a different lawyer at the time. And so anyway, they came in and strong-armed us a little bit, which I'm still sour about. Would we spend $24,000 on 2 licenses for a recreational and medical transport license? They came in and told me that if I surrendered both of those licenses, they would allow me to be operational tomorrow. So I called my lawyer immediately. And at this point, I'm like desperate to just get this going.
Yeah.
And he told me to go ahead and surrender the license. Looking back, and I wish I would have fought a little bit more. So we surrendered the license. They ended up passing me that day, and I was operational. So it took about 2 months after construction.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. That I'm sure that probably happened not to just you. I'm sure that's probably happened to somebody else in Colorado, or even in Denver County, or in other states. So, and honestly, it's hard that you're waiting all this time and you're a year in, right? You're paying on the building, you're paying the rent, you're paying the cost of construction. You're not making a profit yet. That's a really challenging position to be in, because you really want any more delays? Do you really want to have to battle? Is it going to take 6 months? The battle over keeping the licenses and not having to surrender it? What's going to cost? What are the legal costs going to be? So I can see the choice was not an easy choice, right? At the end of the day, you wanted to get open and start trying to build the business. So you listed earlier all your products. You sound like you have a really nice product line. When you first got operational, did you just decide, I'm just going to make this one item and then I'm going to build my way? Did you have a plan coming in? And then when you came in, the plan changed? I heard you talk about by the time you got operational, COVID hit, the market shifted, and so you had to adapt. So talk a little bit about that, how you had to adapt, and what was the first item that you decided that you were going to make? And then how long before you started making other products? Did you wait 6 months, 3 months? And then also if you were doing any R&D.
Okay. Yeah, no, absolutely. So I was doing R&D the moment we got operational, and I started pushing away from distillate. We had all kinds of vape pens and disposables, everything ready for distillate. And as you said, we shifted. So I had to quick order rosin, everything, which at that time, rosin was just hitting the market. None of the vape companies, literally anybody had anything specific for rosin. And because rosin's viscosity levels are difficult, it's not the same as distillate or resins. I kind of had to do a ton of R&D to make sure that our custom devices would work for our oil perfectly. And so that did take a while. That probably took probably 2 months, maybe 2.5 months, dealing with China back and forth, having them send the correct aperture sizes and ohm resistances for our vape carts. But a vape cart was my main priority. That was the biggest thing I wanted, because that was what I was consuming every time I would come to Colorado. I tailored this business more towards people like me who don't necessarily look like they smoke a lot of weed, or the professional type. So I wanted discreet things that people can smoke that's not, hey, too flashy. We did that. Vape pens were my number one, half-gram vape pens. So we did that and went into disposables. And then from there, let the market tell us what they wanted. So next we went into single-gram cold cures. Then we noticed a push towards some kind of like specialty devices. So we came up with this syringe. And then I started getting quite a few requests from like the older smoker guys that wanted old school hash, Moroccan or those kind of hash. So we started doing that to tailor towards
Cool.
them. Yeah. Then we've been getting a lot of requests about joints as well. So we've pushed into that. And so now we kind of have, like you said, a decent lineup of products and really just let the consumers tell us what we're doing good at, where we need to keep pushing at, go further into that product line.
I love that. I think you said something really important is that you're using consumer data to really drive the products that you're making and getting the products to market that people want. I do understand it is a very big market actually in Colorado. I think concentrate is the number one product selling. You would think it was edibles, but I recently some data that was collected around Colorado and it's concentrates that are the number one sellers. And I believe it's actually vape cart.
I believe it.
There are a lot of cartridges in the market, but people are buying them. So they're very popular. If you could go back in time, is there any advice that you would give yourself knowing what you know now to, let's say, brand new Dan, building out my build out? What advice would you give yourself if you could go back that can help an operator? What was something that you didn't think about that you said, oh, shoot, I wish I had known that? Not that you could go back and change, because obviously you're learning and growing as you're going through this experience.
Yeah, number one was I should have done a lot more research on the Denver Fire Department and the restrictions. I honestly had no idea they have that much control over us. They're basically the gatekeepers to MIPS right now.
Yeah.
It's unbelievable. Yeah, so I wish I would have done a lot more research and kind of gathered exactly the requirements for that. Although I'm not sure it would have done anything. They just seem to not like cannabis too much, so they're very difficult to please. So I wish I would have done that. I wish I would have had a better lawyer when I first started. When I first started, everybody I ever talked to was like, oh yeah, I know everything about cannabis. So I hired him and he was flying by the seat of his pants. He didn't really know what he was doing. We got this building too early prior to the MED approval. Like we took some risks. Luckily they did pay off, but yeah, I wish I would have done a lot more research. And then one other thing I really wish I would have done, I wish I would have came here and worked in the market like prior, maybe 6 months to a couple of dispensaries, just get an idea of the feel and the vibe going around the industry, see what consumers like. That is probably my biggest issue nowadays is that my disconnect to consumers. So I call my dispensaries probably weekly and I talk to them, or I go there and I show up and try and talk to bud tenders. What are people telling you? Please don't just give me positive, tell me negative.
Yeah.
Anything bad, please, anything possible. And so I gather as much feedback as I can. It's crucial for us.
Oh, gosh. There's so many good nuggets in there. My goodness. I didn't even know where to start. That was amazing. All the things that you said. Brian, to do your research locally, what's my local municipality saying? Not just who is licensing me, but the police department, the fire department, the health department, if you have to deal with the health department in your state. Do the research and find out how challenging is it going to be. I know a lot of people that just gave up trying to open up a manufacturing facility in Denver due to the restrictions with Denver Fire Department. That's just not you. I hear that from actually a lot of people, how challenging that is. And I think the other piece, which I really loved, that you talked about hiring the right cannabis attorney. And Jeff talked about that was in my first episode that I did. There's not anything wrong with other attorneys, but it is important to do your due diligence, making sure you're hiring the right attorney, especially dealing on a local level. There's one thing with the state level, but making sure that things are getting executed properly on the local level when it pertains to marijuana. And I really think it's important to have somebody who really knows the industry as far as an attorney. The third piece that I really loved was about getting that experience. I think having experience in the cannabis industry is really important, whether you work with a dispensary and you get consumer facing and you talk to people and you learn what they like, or even if you work in a lab and learn how to make different types of concentrate. I think it's really important. Another question, if you could fast forward now, what are some of the big wins for you and what are the milestones that you're proud of?
God, the first thing that comes to mind is like the MED and fire department are like our best friends at this point. Yeah, which I don't even know how to say it, but I can't believe it. And I really think the military thing's worked out. They understand that I'm not like just a stoner here trying to get free weed or sell out the back door. They know that I am trying to follow all rules, all guidelines, everything that they put out. Everything is organized exactly how they want it. So every time they come in here, it's really a breeze. That I make them coffee, they walk around, and they don't care. Otherwise, we get inspections. You're supposed to get inspections, every year? And we've had one inspection in the last 4 years from the MED. That, to me, is a huge milestone. I've turned haters into lovers.
Yep.
So that's really big for me. I like that a lot. And then secondly, consumers. I love hearing the feedback. We're trying to produce the best product for the absolute best price for our consumers. I'm not trying to, I know how the market is. I know how it is out there for even anybody working jobs. I want to make sure that they're getting the best bang for their buck. I know everyone's tight right now with the market. So I want to provide something that they can still smoke that is solventless, clean, and no residuals, no nothing for them. Kind of like my mom, like my family. I want to make sure that my mom can grab a vape pen and she's not going to have any kind of issues or anything bad in there that could potentially harm her later. So yeah, just consumers and the government. This is my
Yeah.
big milestones. Yeah.
I think those are great wins. I always talk about how important it is to build relationships. And yeah, right out of the gate, it's going to be challenging because they don't know you, you don't know them. They're trying to figure things out. When you came into the market, it wasn't new and emerging, but let's just say somebody's listening that is in the new emerging market. They're going to have to add on top of what Dan just shared that the regulators and the fire department or whoever is expecting you, it's going to be new for them. And so then you're adding that other layer on top of it if you're in a new emerging market. Colorado, which is an existing market, so you're going to have it really nailed down, right? Especially on the Denver County level. And I think it's great that you have now fostered those professional relationships. They know you're serious. They know that you take compliance serious. And that comes with inspections and people coming into your facility and seeing how clean it is, seeing how engaged you are in all the processes, that you do have all the SOPs and that you are following all the rules and the regulations. And now they're coming in and taking pictures. I've seen your lab. It's absolutely beautiful. It's very pristine and clean and organized. It looks like a professional lab. It doesn't look like it's in someone's dorm room, which is really exciting because I've been in places where you think, am I in someone's dorm room right now? This is really wild stuff. And I think that's a testament to you to providing clean products. I love that that's really important to you. Clean product is important to me as well as a consumer. And I'm sure that's important to a lot of consumers out there. One thing too, I kind of want to pedal back that you call the dispensaries and you go down there and you talk to the bed tenders and you tell them, don't just sugarcoat it. Don't just tell me the good stuff. Tell me everything. I want to know everything. Everybody listening that's growing or manufacturing or even a dispensary should be taking that advice and applying that in your business, because getting important feedback about it, even though it might not make you happy with feedback, it's critical to growing and changing and building that consumer base. I think it shows people that you care, that you're listening, and consumers want to be heard. They want clean products. They want to know that they're safe. The consumer, like you said, I want to make a product that I know my mom can smoke and be safe, and it's not going to harm her. That was beautifully said. So another thing I wanted to talk about, it's no secret that the Colorado market is challenging, right? It's not a secret. I think it's normal when you're the first out of the gate to start. You're going to be the first one everyone's going to see have the issues or fall down. Colorado has invested a lot of time. They're working on streamlining the regulations right now. They're trying to deregulate some items to help operators. At one point, the medical was one set of rules and the recreational was one set of rules. They merged them all together. In Colorado, it used to be like, hey, I gotta read 600 pages here and 600 pages here. It was a lot. Colorado is slowly making their way through it. They have to adapt as well because the market's changing, and we can't just have everyone go out of business. We can't just lose the cannabis industry, and we're gonna have some deregulation to loosen up the straps on things that are redundant now. They made sense in 2011 or 2012. or 2014, but they do not make sense in the 2025 market. Colorado is a mixed bag. You've got people that are going out of business. You have people that have been doing it 10 years. They're burned out. They don't want to do it anymore. They're going to sell off their licenses to new people coming in. We have municipalities that had cannabis banned. Like, for example, you couldn't have adult use into Colorado Springs until recently. This whole entire time, I believe Colorado Springs is the second largest city in Colorado, has not had adult use this whole entire time. People find that shocking. And then you have little towns like Sterling and Brighton or Erie and all these little places that are like, oh, okay, we're ready now. 10 years later, 8 years later, we're ready to do this now. And so what that's causing is brand new operators coming into the market and starting new businesses, or you have people buying distressed assets and starting new businesses. I kind of want to talk about too, like there's a lot of companies out there struggling. And I think one of the challenges, and this is a challenge all across the United States, dispensaries, they're ordering products and they're not paying the manufacturers on time. And there's a lot of companies out there, and this is not a Colorado thing. I know that people are owed a lot of money. A lot of manufacturers and grows are owed a lot of money, especially by the bigger companies. I've heard up around $200,000. Some operators are owned by large companies here in Colorado. But this isn't just Colorado. I'm hearing this is happening in California. This is happening in Oregon, Washington State. This is happening in Michigan. So there's something clearly happening, which I believe just the fact that it's now becoming saturated in these older markets because they're maturing. We have more legal cannabis across the United States, but not everyone's coming to Colorado to buy weed anymore. They can go to Ohio, Michigan, Missouri. They can go to almost any state now. They can get adult use cannabis. And so some of these people are struggling. They need to get product on the shelf, and they're struggling to get their bills paid. I know that you probably came up against this yourself.
Yeah, originally we coming from construction, we never had that issue of people really not paying. So I had honestly had no idea what to expect with that. Originally I offered net terms and ended up getting burned from a couple people. So I learned that pretty quick. Biggest thing I learned is to make them sign a personal guarantee, especially if it's over a certain amount of money. I just got off a meeting for that. Yeah. For example, we've had a couple large food grade companies, edible companies that have gotten 50, 60,000 plus kind of money from us. And number one, I make them pay half up front. And then secondly, they'll sign a personal guarantee for the other half, because that is another issue we ran into too, is they'll get the product, they'll sell the product, they'll dissolve the LLC, and now all the debt is gone. They owe nobody nothing. And I got burned by that way as well. So that's been very difficult. So yeah, now brand new dispensary. Luckily, there's a Facebook page here. I know quite a few owners too, that all the red badges get together, and we talk about who's paying, who's not paying, who to watch out for, who just forfeit license, whatever, that kind of stuff. And that's my first line of defense. And then I go into 3 COD orders with no issues. Then you can go up to net 7. Then we'll go to net 14. That works out. Go all the way up to net 30 if needed, if they're a good enough customer. That was an issue for a while. And to be honest, we are relentless when it comes to very late payments. I'm not just going to give up. I get to the point where I become annoying. They don't like me anymore. I'm not the happy, nice guy. And this is a business. Like, I have to get paid. I've even heard of a few other MIPS here that hire a new company in Colorado that will picket in front of the dispensary that owes you money. Yeah. So that's a good way to do it. And I don't ever let any dispensaries have more than one invoice out at a time. Just try and cut my losses as much as potentially possible. But yeah, that has been crazy. I cannot believe people just don't pay their bills.
Wow, that is unbelievable. Anyone who's listening from Michigan, hopefully, because I'm not going to lie, I think people in Michigan are having a horrible time with this. They actually created a blacklist group on Facebook for Michigan operators, similar to the one in Colorado. There's a Facebook group for owners where they're all talking to each other about who's not paying the bills, and they're not going to do business with you. And that's what you get for doing bad business and not paying your bills. They have the same thing in Michigan. It's pretty rampant in Michigan. I think I don't know, gosh, I think that group alone has 3 or 4,000 people in it, and they are putting people on blast. There are people who are owed a sickening amount of money in Michigan. It's really horrible. And I haven't heard of the picket idea, so really, Michigan, that's what you guys need to do. I help launch a lot of dispensaries, and when I'm helping them build out their menu, I'm always telling them, look, like, you're going to have like $50,000, for example. You're going to need $50,000 for your opening inventory. This is Colorado. This is not like a market like New York. New York is double that. But in Colorado, $50,000 on hand because it's mostly COD now. In a lot of places right now, there are COD, the first 3 orders, and then it's baby steps to 7. And I tell all my clients, you cannot expect people to do net terms out of the gate. They don't know you. They don't know if you're responsible with paying your bills. Everyone's been burned so much. Everyone is very cautious right now. As an operator, you have bills. You're a family man. You're taking care of your family, and you have priorities. I did not come into this industry to become a debt collector. Dan, you're not a debt collector, but here we are. We're debt collectors, and we're going after people who owe our business's money. And so, yeah, I think you have to get creative. And you also talked about that contract. So I recently had Rachel Ardenoy, the attorney, on my podcast. I think it was not the last episode, the previous one, but she talked about the importance of having that contract with orders. So I think it's smart because she had mentioned there's no way to hold anyone accountable, then you're going to have to go to court. So it's important to have that agreement. And so I like that you do that. What is the name of that agreement that you brought up that you're using for product?
They're personal guaranteed.
Okay.
Yeah, from my understanding of it, it just guarantees that even if the LLC or S Corp or whatever they are is dissolved, that owner will still have to pay, will be liable in personal assets at that point. So a lot of people don't like that. And if they don't like it, to me, that's a huge red flag. And I kind of stay away from them. Yeah.
Red flags are important to pay attention to. And too, like, I've seen it where all of a sudden they switch to a different company and that existing company just becomes a shell company and there's nothing there. And gosh, like, I can't believe people are just dissolving the LLCs and then you're screwed like that. That's really disheartening to hear that's happening. Thank you. You're sharing a lot of really helpful information. I want to dive into your bio. Dan sent me a really beautifully written bio on himself. And there are a couple things that stood out to me that I think that could be helpful. I think one of the things that you mentioned is that you had the opportunity to build a team of 5 dedicated employees who share your vision and values. If you could talk about, like, how did you do that?
So I did a few of them out of the gate. Luckily, during that whole year of construction and licensing, I did go around to dispensaries and meet with people, anybody that I saw that I liked. And for example, I met Alex, one of my fulfillment managers here at a dispensary. He was a manager. I've been talking to him for, I don't know, a week or 2 before that. But I just noticed how organized, clean. He's very good with talking to people. He's very dedicated and careful with what he does. So like for him, I just poached him basically and offered him a job to go somewhere else. And that's really what I've done pretty much with all my employees. Anybody that I see is working below what I think that they're capable of and truly loves cannabis and really wants to make a better product. I don't know, people who try as hard as they can, basically. As in this industry, that's sometimes hard to find. People that have a high drive and looking to learn. And so those are big for me. I would rather them start off really not knowing anything, and I will teach you like our way. That way we all kind of gel together. And so that's how I've gotten my sales rep, our accountant, fulfillment, lab assistant, all came from a dispensary knowing nothing on our side, the MIP side.
Yeah.
And just teaching them so, from my opinion, they didn't have any bad habits from the get-go.
I always talk about that when hiring a team. I love brand new, green people, brand new, because you can teach them the right way and they're not coming with baggage. And sometimes, especially in Colorado, we've been at it a long time. There are people out there that have 10 years experience, but also they have 10 years of bad habits from not working with good operators. And I love that you take the time to really work with them. I think a work ethic is really important. If you find somebody that has a good work ethic, and I think requiring your employees to work hard is really important. I think working hard is a really good skill set, somebody who's dedicated, that doesn't complain when they have to get up at 6 in the morning. What time do you guys start in the morning?
I'm an early riser. I start my wash at around roughly 4:30 a.m. and I'm done at
Woo!
3. Yeah.
All right. Wow, good for you. You're there at 4:30 a.m. at your facility.
Yeah, usually I try and get the day started before everybody gets in, so it's an easy transition right when they come in. Then I can take off at 3 and go spend some time with my kids.
Yeah, I love that. That's amazing. Good for you. 4:30, and you're probably not the only one. I know a lot of people that get up at 4 in the morning and start their day with their work. Another thing you said, I understand that a strong team is the backbone of any successful business, and I'm committed to empowering my employees through training and mentorship. I think obviously you're being a great mentor. You're showing people what it takes, the commitment, the work ethic, the level of commitment to be in this industry. It's not for the faint-hearted. And I think you're teaching them something, because eventually everyone moves on, right? We all move on and we get another job. But I think they're going to lead with that. So you're not really waking up and saying, "Oh, I'm going to empower my employees today." I think you're just setting the example from the top, basically. And you're saying, "I'm the owner. Here's the executive level. They're not watching me. I have to show up and do a good job. And if I don't, they're going to mimic me not doing a good job."
Yeah, exactly. And just again, that's military for me, is lead by example. I'm not scared to go scrub the toilet. I'll get up on the roof. I'll do literally anything. I have no problem with it. So I like them to see me do everything. I'm not above them whatsoever. We're all at the same level here. We're a team. I want them to take just as much pride as I do.
Wow. I think, yeah, that was magic what you said. I think to be a leader and a mentor, I think it's really important that you're willing, that one, you're not above your staff, and that you're willing to roll up your sleeves and do all the same things you're asking of them. Cleaning the toilet, picking up the cigarette butts in the parking lot, walking around the building, making sure everything is clean, doing, like you said, doing all the laborious things, and that you're not just walking around barking orders at somebody. It's collectively a team. There's no I in team. I think it's pretty amazing that you do that. Another thing I wanted to touch on, and I know I'm looking at my notes today. Normally I don't look at notes, but there were so many good things I didn't want to lose to make sure that I covered. And like I said, I really loved your bio, and you had some really good things in it. So you said, "I'm deeply grateful for the journey I have undertaken and the lessons that I have learned along the way. My military background has shaped my approach to business, and I continue to draw upon that experience as I strive to make a positive impact in my industry and community." So the reason I brought this up, because I think there are a lot of veterans out there who could be thinking, "Am I going to apply for a license? Should I start a business in the cannabis industry?" Or maybe there's a veteran wondering, "Will my skill set translate? Can all the things that I learned in the military, will that even help me in the cannabis industry?" So if you can just expand a little bit on that, and just for our veterans that are listening.
Yeah, no, absolutely. The biggest thing is the work ethic, and to try really put forth everything that you have into what you're doing. Be proud of what you're doing. That's what I learned in the military. For example, I was infantry. So that had literally nothing to do with cannabis whatsoever and didn't really help me with what I learned there. But it did teach me to put my head down, work harder than everybody around you. It will pay off in the end. And so, yeah, I've always done that as an owner here. We're pulling at least 12 hours a day. That's how it goes. And I have no problem with that. I love it. I really love what I do. I really want to put out the best possible product that I can. And I really do care about it. And so it makes it fun. I enjoy it.
No, I love that. Thank you for sharing that. And also, if you're able to share, what military branch did you serve with?
I was with the Army. I was with the 101st Airborne.
Thank you. I appreciate your military service. I really do. And I come from a military family. One last thing, I thought this was beautifully said. You said, "My journey began with a commitment to excellence, rooted in the values instilled in me during my military service." I think commitment's a really important word, and that you cannot be successful in this industry without being committed. And sometimes it's challenging, and sometimes that commitment is challenged, right? There's something that's going to come up. Like I mentioned the curveballs earlier. As I've talked before, the cannabis industry, let me get on my screen here. It is this up and down. It's up and down. It's not the straight cruising line where everything is relaxed and chill and I'm selling weed and life is good. It's not like that. There really are real life challenges, real business challenges. Talk about like how important that commitment is to you. That's something that you obviously lean into because it was almost like it's your foundation, so you can keep waking up every day. I started getting to you. Not only that, I think you drive an hour away, right?
Yeah, I live in the Springs. Yep.
That's right. So you're driving an hour to work and getting there at 4:30 in the morning. So you're getting up at 3 a.m.
Yeah, 3:15 somewhere there.
Honestly, you can't do that without commitment.
Yeah.
You cannot do it. So obviously commitment's an important value, a core value for you.
Absolutely, yeah. And a big thing for commitment with me as well is as MIP owners go through the process, especially like for me, I run all the extraction back there. I do have opportunities to potentially cut corners, save money, make more money for us, but I don't do it all. I try and maintain those exact SOPs to not make a little extra money, nothing like that. I want to maintain the exact same product for the consumers. Because in the end, I feel that the consumers will figure that out at some point. It's just not worth it. Keep producing what you can. Don't decrease quality to increase profits. Stay where you're at quality-wise.
That's great. I think that's really important. I see cutting corners always, it catches up. I think it always catches up. It shows up with either maybe you have employee turnover because of it, maybe you with your customers because of it. I think cutting corners actually can cause you to lose money, not make money. You might think, oh, I'm going to cut this corner to make a profit. But I think in the end, it can actually cause you to lose more money. It can cost you more money in the end. I've seen that specifically around like security. I've seen people cut corners on security and then have it, for example, their facility gets broken into. They didn't want to get like the ballards or anything. There's certain things they didn't want to spend the extra money to protect their facility, and then someone drove a car through it or got burglarized and whatnot. In the end, it cost them more money because now they have to pay to fix all those things. When you could have just invested the extra $20,000 to $15,000 to do it. I think that's a really important lesson for people to learn. Do you have any plans? Are you doing any new kind of R&D? Are there new concentrate? I can't really keep up, to be honest. I'm like, oh my gosh, concentrate have really evolved. It's like cold cure and all these things that I'm not familiar with. Have you seen any new trends that's happening out in the market? What are customers saying? What's really their favorite? What are they liking out there?
Probably our biggest moving product at the moment will be cold cure like dabbable rosin. Joints are always a big hit. We do move quite a bit of joints. And like you said, that's the tough part, is to stay on that cutting edge of the market, get something, the consumers be one of the first ones to get something new and push the limits to see what's going to work and what's not work. So we are, we're pushing quite a few things. I think we're just toying around with packaging for a 28 gram rosin jar. For EPCs, we're getting requests from quite a few EPCs on 28 grams at a time. So we are toying around with that, as well as 8-gram buckets, as well as disposables, as well as like different flavored disposables, all within the same device. There's all kinds of new stuff, and not only consumer side, but manufacturing side. The equipment is starting to catch up when it comes to the scientific wise. So we're able to like for instance, when we first started, we were hitting extractions. We're hitting like 6, 7, 8% terpenes on our products. Now with all the new equipment, we're hitting 10, 11, 12%.
Wow.
Same with the overall yields. It's getting better. The extraction is becoming much more in depth and controllable. So it's actually really fun. I know we're a little bit late in the market now, but pioneering wise, we're designing new scientific extraction for cannabis products. So it's pretty fun. It's awesome.
Yeah, I always sound like you really like it.
I do.
My God, like you imagine you were in your garage with some bubble hatch bags, and my favorite, they had Micron bags, making some water hash. It's true, your dreams can come true if you work really hard. You probably didn't think back then that this is where you're going to be now, so.
I had never thought that would ever really take off, to be honest, but it did, and look at us now.
That's amazing. I think that you saw the acronym EPC, and I just want to highlight for listeners in Colorado in our medical side of our industry. Medical patients can be EPC, which is extended plant count. A medical user is awarded 2 ounces of cannabis. And so the extended plant count allows people to apply based on their medical condition or what's going on through their doctor. They can get an extended plant count. I don't know, what's an example? Do you know?
I don't know flower size, but I know concentrate size. Like there's a few down in Colorado Springs that are, I think, between 50 and 70 grams per day they're allowed to
Okay.
get.
Yeah.
I've heard there are some that can get like a full pound of flower at a time. But yeah, other than that, I don't know too much about
From anyone who want to look up your business, what is the website where they can find you?
www.ts-labs.com.
Fantastic. And then are you on Facebook or LinkedIn or anything like that as well?
TS Labs isn't on LinkedIn. I am on LinkedIn personally, but mainly social media wise, we're on Instagram as TS Labs Denver.
Perfect. I want to make sure my listeners know that Under the Microscope is available on YouTube at Under the Microscope with Jenny, or you can listen on Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, Amazon Music, and Spotify. I appreciate everyone listening today. I hope this was really helpful. Dan, thank you so much. I really think you shared so much value in all the things that you shared. I really do think any operator that's listening, this is really going to help them. I think it's important to provide context and just normalization of the challenges, because the one thing you cannot control is you cannot control all these things outside of you. You can't control what the government is going to do, or the fire department, or your enforcement division, or anything like that. All you can do is control how you show up and how you're going to adapt to all those things, all those curveballs being thrown at you. So I really appreciate your time. Everything you shared, I think, was pretty incredible.
Absolutely. Thank you.